Your moisturizer is lying to you. Not because it doesn't work. It does, on the surface, exactly where it was designed to work. But the damage aging your skin right now isn't happening on the surface. It's happening 4 layers beneath it, inside cells you've never heard of, through mechanisms your dermatologist probably didn't explain, and the products lining your bathroom shelf aren't touching any of it. You've been managing the symptom. The disease has been running unchecked. And here's what makes this worse. The biology started shifting before you noticed the first fine line, before the dullness, before the loss of elasticity that you blamed on sleep or stress or genetics. The real question isn't how to fix your skin. The real question is, what is actually aging you? Because until you understand that, everything you're doing is theater. Here's what the industry doesn't want you to sit with. Skin aging is not one process. It is 10 simultaneous biological failures, each reinforcing the others, each operating on a timeline you cannot see until it's visible. And you are going to understand all of them, the mechanism, the consequence, the lever. Starting now, Factor 10 is the one nobody puts on a label because you can't bottle the fix. It's mitochondrial dysfunction inside your dermal fibroblasts. Your fibroblasts are the cells responsible for producing collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid, the structural scaffold that keeps skin firm, plump, and resilient. And those cells are powered by mitochondria, just like every other cell in your body. Here's the mechanism. As mitochondrial efficiency declines with age, starting as early as your late 20s, the energy output available to fibroblasts drops. Less ATP, less cellular fuel, and fibroblasts running on reduced energy do not produce collagen at the rate your skin requires. They slow down, the scaffold weakens, and no topical product can reach a mitochondrion. None. This is a systemic problem requiring a systemic response, and we'll get to exactly what that looks like. Factor 9 is glycation. You've probably never heard this word in a skincare context, and that silence is deliberate. Glycation is what happens when excess glucose molecules in your bloodstream bind to collagen and elastin fibers, cross-linking them in a process that makes them stiff, brittle, and discolored. The resulting compounds, called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, accumulate in the dermal layer and cannot be reversed by anything you apply externally. The mechanism is chemical, not cellular, which means your retinol isn't touching it. Your vitamin C serum isn't touching it. And here's the counterintuitive part. Some of the foods marketed as healthy, fruit juices, whole grain breads, low-fat yogurts, are quietly driving glycation at a rate your collagen cannot survive. The sugar content doesn't disappear because the packaging is clean. The AGEs still form. They still stiffen your skin from the inside out. The lever here is dietary, not cosmetic. Factor 8 is cortisol. Chronic stress elevation. Not the acute stress of a bad day, but the sustained low-grade cortisol output that comes from disrupted sleep, overtraining, or unresolved psychological pressure, directly degrades skin barrier function. Cortisol suppresses the synthesis of ceramides, the lipid molecules that hold your skin's moisture barrier together. Without sufficient ceramides, transepidermal water loss accelerates. The skin dehydrates from the inside. Fine lines deepen not because of aging, but because the cells beneath them are running dry. You can apply all the hyaluronic acid serum you want. If your barrier is ceramide depleted, you are filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Factor 7 is ultraviolet, a radiation. And this is where you need to stop assuming your SPF is protecting you. SPF measures protection against UVB rays, the rays that burn. UVA rays, the ones that penetrate cloud cover, glass, and most mineral-only sunscreens, don't burn. They age. UVA radiation penetrates to the dermis, where it directly fragments existing collagen fibers and activates enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, or MMPs, that break down structural tissue. This is photoaging, and it accumulates silently for decades before it becomes visible. The sunscreen you've been using every morning may be giving you a false sense of protection. Check for broad-spectrum coverage. Check for PA ratings. SPF alone is not the whole picture. Factor 6 is inflammation, specifically what researchers now call inflammaging, the chronic low-grade inflammatory state that accelerates biological aging at the cellular level. Inflammatory cytokines circulating in the bloodstream don't stay confined to wherever they originated. They reach the skin, they trigger MMP activation, they disrupt the skin microbiome. They impair wound healing and cellular repair. And the sources of this inflammation are not dramatic. They're ordinary. Processed seed oils, disrupted gut bacteria, poor sleep, air pollution. Each alone is manageable. Combined and sustained over years, they create an inflammatory environment in which your skin cells are perpetually in crisis mode, unable to dedicate resources to repair and regeneration. Factor 5 is your skin microbiome, and this is where the science gets genuinely fascinating. Your skin is colonized by trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, archaea, that form a protective ecosystem regulating pH, immune response, and barrier integrity. When that ecosystem is disrupted by antibacterial cleansers, by overexfoliation, by topical steroids, by dietary changes, the skin's first line of defense collapses. Opportunistic bacteria proliferate. Inflammation follows. Barrier function deteriorates. And here's what no one tells you. The microbiome disruption doesn't announce itself. It doesn't look like a rash or a breakout. It looks like sensitivity that wasn't there before. It looks like products you used for years suddenly causing irritation. Your skin is telling you something. Most people silence it with more products instead of listening to what it needs. If you're finding this useful, subscribe. Because what we're getting into next is where most conversations about aging stop and where the real biology begins. Factor 4 is sleep-dependent cellular repair. Human growth hormone, the primary driver of nighttime skin regeneration, is secreted in its highest concentrations during slow-wave sleep, specifically in the first 90 minutes after sleep onset. This is when fibroblasts undergo peak repair activity. Damaged DNA in skin cells gets corrected. Collagen synthesis accelerates. The epidermis thickens fractionally in preparation for the next day. Disrupt that window with alcohol, with late screens, with inconsistent sleep timing. And you don't just feel tired. You interrupt a biological maintenance cycle that compounds across months and years into visible structural decline. 8 hours of fragmented sleep is not equivalent to 7 hours of consolidated sleep. The hormone output is not the same. The repair is not the same. Factor 3 is lymphatic stagnation. The lymphatic system drains metabolic waste from tissues, including the dermis. When lymph flow is sluggish, waste products accumulate in the spaces between cells, contributing to puffiness, dullness, and impaired nutrient delivery to skin cells. Unlike the cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system has no pump. It moves through muscle contraction and physical movement. A sedentary lifestyle doesn't just affect your cardiovascular health. It lets cellular waste accumulate in your face. Factor 2 is oxidative stress, and this may be the most destructive mechanism on this list because it attacks the master regulator of every other process. Free radicals, unstable molecules generated by UV exposure, pollution, processed food, and even normal metabolism, steal electrons from stable molecules, triggering a cascade of cellular damage that includes DNA strand breaks, lipid peroxidation in cell membranes, and direct degradation of collagen. Your body has endogenous antioxidant systems, superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, but their output declines with age. By your mid-30s, the oxidative load routinely outpaces your body's ability to neutralize it. The damage accumulates. It accelerates every other factor on this list. And the antioxidant serums you're applying topically are working at the wrong address. The oxidative damage driving visible aging is happening in the dermis, not the epidermis. Factor 1, the mechanism that underlies every other factor, is epigenetic drift. Your DNA sequence doesn't change as you age, but the way your genes are expressed does. Epigenetic markers, chemical tags on your DNA, regulate which genes are switched on and which are silenced. As you age, those markers shift. Genes responsible for collagen production get progressively silenced. Genes associated with inflammation get progressively activated. This is not destiny. Epigenetic expression is modifiable through sleep, through nutrition, through stress management, through specific compounds that have been shown to influence methylation patterns. But it requires understanding that aging is not a passive process happening to you. It is an active process you are either accelerating or slowing down with every decision you make, every single day. Before we get to the protocol, drop a comment and tell me, what's the one skincare habit you've never questioned? Now, the protocol. 3 variables, all non-negotiable. The first variable is metabolic. Eliminate added sugar and refined carbohydrates for a minimum of 21 consecutive days. Not reduced, eliminated. This directly addresses glycation, oxidative stress, and inflammaging simultaneously. Your fibroblasts cannot repair collagen in a high-glucose environment. Give them the conditions they require. The second variable is circadian. Sleep onset must occur before 11 p.m., and your first 90 minutes must be uninterrupted. This means no alcohol within 4 hours of sleep, no screens within 60 minutes of sleep onset, and a consistent wake time, including weekends, that anchors your circadian rhythm. Growth hormone secretion is not flexible. It follows a biological clock. You either align with it or you forfeit the repair window. The third variable is movement-based lymphatic activation. 20 minutes of brisk walking daily. Not exercise in the traditional sense, but consistent rhythmic movement that contracts the large muscle groups and drives lymphatic circulation. Morning is optimal because it also regulates cortisol curves for the rest of the day, directly addressing the ceramide suppression in factor 8. These 3 variables address mitochondrial energy availability, glycation load, oxidative stress accumulation, cortisol regulation, lymphatic drainage, and circadian repair, which means they address 9 of the 10 factors you just learned about. That is not a coincidence. It is biology. The skincare industry profits from selling you the 10th. The other 9 are yours to control. You can choose to keep treating your skin like a surface problem. Or you can accept what the biology is telling you, that your skin is a readout of internal systems, and that the only intervention that changes the readout is changing what's generating it. The people who understand this don't have better genetics. They have better information. Now you have the same information. Comment. I'm fixing the biology below if you're ready to act on it. Like this video, if you learned something the industry spent money making sure you wouldn't. Subscribe, because we are just getting started. And the next one goes even deeper. The clock is running. The mechanisms don't wait.